Hello guys, welcome back to Business Hub. In today's class, we are going to continue from where we stopped in our previous section, which is the assumption, the building the assumption sheet. Now, the assumption, like I said, is the building block of every financial model. If you are building a model and you do not get the assumption right, that means the entire model will be misleading. So that is why when building assumptions, it is advisable to do your in-depth research, do an in-depth research and do your in-depth analysis, understand the business model, understand how the business industry operates, and understand the specific need of your client or the business owner, what the business entails to him and how he intends to run the business. Also putting into consideration the industry standard and industry operational models, right? So in this section right now, we are going to be integrating our assumptions, translating them into actual figures that matters, because these figures are what we are going to be using for our decision making purposes, right? So first of all, when you come to your calculation sheet, of course by now you should have this sheet the way it is laid out, right? This, because we started with the model guide and we enter the input, then we are now in the calculation stage, so you should have this data already. And like I said in the previous video, that I won't be sharing this file per se, but based on request I can send it to you, and what you need to do is to go to the comment section and comment you need the file, then I can tell you what to do in order to get the file, right? So that being said, let's go ahead and start our calculation. So first of all, we are going to rename these assumptions with this one here. We're going to rename it to calculation. Sorry, calculations. All right, having done that, now we have, under the calculation here, under the revenue and cost assumptions here, we have the pricing index and we have the inflation index, month in a period, product or service growth rate, right? This is what we have. So what are we going to do here? Let me come quickly. I think I renamed that. Let me see the name I gave it. What is the product or service growth rate again? Okay, all right, it's up. Now this is business or industry growth rate, right? This is what we have. So that's under this. Yeah, so it's correct. We have this. And when you come back here, we have it. Now all you need to do here right now is just to come here and put your equal to, because we are going to be linking them. Remember, apart from the input section, input sheet, every other thing we are doing in every other sheet in this model should either be link or calculations. Either be linked or calculation. I repeat, either be linked or calculation, because you want to build a model that is dynamic, a model that won't break in the middle. So what it means is that if there is a need for any change at all, the change should only take effect on the first, on one cell in the sheet, so that on one cell which is in a particular sheet, in this case every input data we are going to be entering in this model is going to come from input sheet, which is the assumption sheet, right? So we're going to go back to the pricing index, which we have already determined earlier on. So if you come here, we have our pricing index. So what is our pricing index? Our pricing index is this. Just link it in. Now here too, you come and say, okay, what is our inflation rate? You just put your equal to sign and come to your inflation index and put this one in. Then on the part of the months in a period, because we already renamed the cell that contains the month in a period in our previous video, which is on the model guide. And this is why it is important you have to watch this video series by series, the way it is presented, so that you will not be confused at any point in time. So when you come to the month in a period, we have already renamed that cell to month in a period. I can either go back to my model guide and just link it in, or I can just type month in a period, right? You see, Once I type month, I have it here because it has already been saved. Then I can just press my tab key, then to bring it up, and I'll press enter. Right, you can see we have it. Month in the period is 12 because we have 12 months in a year. Now, what is our product service growth rate? Right, our product service growth rate is going to be equal to, again, go back to your input. Maybe go back to your input here. What is it? This is it. Under the business industry growth rate, we have this. Then you can just enter. Right, so right now we have it, so we can just copy, select everything, and fill it in. That's Control R. Right, so the first two cells, or the first two columns, are what are the same cells, input type. So what we're going to do, we're going to first of all put everything like this in a link style, indicating that these are link item. We link them from a particular sheet, right? So then the first two here we are going to apply our multiple cells on them. So our multiples, we're going to apply our multiple cell styles on them. Then on the part of this, we are the month in a period, we are going to leave it just the way it is. Then this is a percentage. We are going to go ahead and format it into percentage, right? Again, if you don't, or if you're confused on how I am doing this so fast around here, we have already established that it is part of our core modeling skills. So you just have to go back and watch the first video on this class to get to where we are right now. Right, so we have now brought all this into place. So now these are the things we are going to use to determine our revenue, because everything you see on the model is there for a reason, because it's a driver to a particular item in the model. So when we come back to our revenue drivers or revenue streams, we will link our revenue assumptions also. We are going to now bring in our revenue assumption. The same thing we did on the pricing index, inflation index, amount in a period. That's how we are going to also link them. Put your equal to sign, then go to your input. When you come to your input, you come down to where you did your revenue assumptions, or where we did our revenue assumptions. We just link them in. We have explained how we arrive at all these revenue assumptions in our previous class, so I won't be wasting time explaining again. All I need to do is just to link them into our sheet. So once you do that, you link. Now, because these are lined up in one place, there is a kind of consistency around surrounding them, so I will just fill that in downward. Then on this, I will just bring it right here. Right, so this is our revenue assumption. I will go ahead and apply our link style, showing that it is coming from a particular place. Right, now we can see this is our revenue. Now we'll do the same thing for our cost before we start doing the calculation. So we'll go ahead. I can decide to copy from here. If I copy and paste here, it's going to give me exactly the same result we have on the cost. Why? Because there is a kind of consistency that exists between this sheet. If you look at the gap between this place and the gap between this also is the same. So it is taking reference. Remember, everything is linked. It's taking reference directly from where the other one stops. So we can do that. I will just go ahead and fill that downward. Then this, I can also do this. What is this value? This value means the distance covered. The distance covered. That is what we are multiplying to get our revenue. That is what we are multiplying to get our revenue, right? The distance covered. I think I also made a little changes in the last mile delivery distance too. Sorry, I think this, let me check the previous model. Last mile delivery, no, I didn't make any changes on that assumption. Is that it? Okay, I did. I actually did. Yeah, I did. I remember I did, because we also need to have the since. Okay, yes, I did. I also reflect that here. So it's just that I didn't remember to bring it down. So to differentiate this and this from other values, I decided to format it by including a D at the back of this number, so that it will represent distance. The D just means distance. You can choose to leave it, just trying to differentiate it with other values. So this is just representing distance, right? So we have this. Now let's first of all determine get our pricing growth rates. So let's first of all get our pricing. So here on this row, what we're going to do is to multiply this value by what? By this. When we do that, we have what? We have our base year price. That's the base year price. The same thing we're going to do here, right? We have our base year price. So when we do that, the whole of this row or column should be formatted to be in explanatory, because they are just our base year period. Then we can go ahead and link these ones right here, right? Just link them right here, right? So when we are done with that, the next thing we are going to calculate now, we are going to calculate our pricing index. Now remember that we are going to calculate our pricing. So our pricing is going to take effect on the pricing index. The pricing index is an economic condition that captures the how will I put this? It's an economic condition that takes into consideration what is actually happening. So that is what the pricing index actually represents, and that is why we have it in our that's why we have it in our model. And the inflation rate also, we are trying to look into the future and say, okay, we are not in control of the economy. How then do we take care of it, take care of what will happen in the future that we have not seen now, so that when it will happen in the future, we know that we have actually put that into consideration, even though it's not going to happen exactly the way we predicted, but at least we made provisions for that. That is what we're trying to consider here. So when you come here, just get equal to, then this your base year and the base price. Now multiply it by the pricing index, right? Multiply it by the pricing index, then you press your enter. Now there is nothing wrong here, there is nothing wrong with this calculation, but the problem is that if I start dragging this calculation downward, you can see that it's going to change, right? It's not taking reference from where it's supposed to take reference. In this case, the last mile delivery is taking reference from the inflation, which is what we don't want. We want it to take reference from the pricing index. So in this case, what are we supposed to do? We're going to now lock the cell. We're going to put a sales reference to it, telling you that, okay, take reference from this particular cell, no matter where we are in this particular column, no matter where we are in the sheet. So we are going to now lock the row. We are going to lock the cell, which is the alphabet. In front of that J, we are going to put a $sign and press enter. So it means that if I drag this downward, it's going to take reference directly from the same pricing index. The same thing with this, every other thing takes reference. But if I do this, if I drag it to the right, it's also going to take reference where it's supposed to take. In the second year, you can see it's taking reference there. Even though I did not put the $sign in front of the J, in front of the column, it will still take reference if I am dragging towards the right. You know why? Because it is progressive. But if I'm dragging it down, it's going to take reference, like you saw, it's going to come down to the next row also, to the next column also, and take reference from there. But now we just restrict that to what? We restricted it to only our pricing index. Now, so this is what we have right now. The same thing we did here, the same thing we did on our pricing. That's what we are going to also do in our variable cost or cost of sales, right? So first of all, let's apply our calculation format on this. Say odd HJ, then I have this, then I'll apply the calculations. We have this value, right? We have it like this. So anywhere you see anything like this in this model, it means it's a calculation. So when you come back here right now, the same thing, we are going to apply the same thing here. So I'll just copy this and I'll paste this, right? If I just paste it, it's taking reference, it doesn't mean anything. This is taking reference because we have this value, but I'll just copy this and I'll paste this here. I'll paste it here. So we have this, and I'll remove this. This is just a simple way of being lazy in terms of modeling, and you have to work smart. So, yeah, you have to work smart in when you're building model. Work smart and make sure that you're working accurately. The fact that it is called model doesn't mean that you present anyhow values. So we can see that this is just multiplication of this value and this value, and this, the distance is going to give us this. Then this is just a link. Then the same thing we did here. In this case, you already know, because price has to go with pricing index, then our revenue has to go with pricing index. Then what is our cost going with? Of course, our cost is going with the inflation index, right? So the same thing you did here, just equal to this multiplied by the inflation index. Then you put your dollar sign in front of the column, then enter, right? So if you drag this downward, you have this. Then you can fill this up from Control R, right? Then apply your sales style on it. We have this, right? You can see this is how we are progressing. We have not started calculating our revenue yet or cost yet. We are just bringing in the values. We are just bringing in our assumptions. Using these assumptions, now we're going to determine our revenue, right? So let's go ahead. Now if you come back here, we have the volume or distance covered, or volume of delivery made. So I can just decide also to copy from here and just paste it, right? It's going to give me the same thing. Why we have this? Because I pasted it in a wrong place. I'll just remove that, right? So you can see we have the same, we have this value. If you come to the input, you check it, you can see we have the same thing, and this saves me times for formatting and applying our link style on it. So we have this. Now what is this telling us? This is where we are going to remember that this is monthly deliveries we have made, right? What we are going to do is to multiply this by our what, multiply it by our months in a period, number of months in a period, which is 12, to get what, to get our annual, volume of delivery. So to get our annual volume of delivery, the same thing we did here again, like I said, the same thing we did here, we are going to do here. But in this case, I just want to apply the format, not the calculations. I'll just copy here and apply it here. I'll just add HVST, then enter, right? So when I do that, I'll just say equal to our monthly volume of delivery or monthly volume of service or whatever we call it, for here in this case delivery, right? So we just say this a monthly multiplied by what, by months in a period, to give us our annual delivery value, right? The volume. So we have this is our annual delivery volume. You can just go ahead, remember to always log the cell, log the log the column. Remember to always log the column, which is a relative referencing, and you press enter. Then you click and drag downward. We have this, because all of these are the same thing. So what if I change these values? If I change this to 300 and I change this to 200, let's say I change this to 400, you can see the calculations here also will actually change. You can see how it affects everything. I always do this change on the input, and it affects both this linking and the calculations we did here. So that is what we mean by making all your assumptions in one place. What if I have typed these values manually here, and the same value that is supposed to be here, the same value that is supposed here is not changed, and this one actually changed here? It means you can see that we are complicating issue at some point. In fact, the model has already broken before you even started. So that is why you have to be careful when building a model. Now that we have determined our annual base volume of delivery, what else do? We want to now integrate our growth rate to it. So how do we do that? You come to this place and say equal to, right? Equal to, you say this our base year multiplied by open bracket 1 plus the growth rate, right? So apply that and you say enter. Again, don't always forget, remember to always put this, remember to always put your reference in here, to take reference from where the cell is, right? You can choose to be doing it one after the other, of course, there's no problem, but in my case I just want to do this once, right? I just want to do it once, and everything should be able to take reference from where I want it to take reference. So when we do that, you can just click here and drag it further, right? So this is it. We have integrated our growth rate. You can see that we have applied everything we have um, linked from here, from this place. We have applied it in each of these place. I can see how our model is coming into play. So the next thing we're going to do is to just format this and put it in our cell style. We can say calculations. In this case, because this has to do with volume, there's no half volume, there's no full volume. So volume of derivative. So all we need to do is I have to remove the decimal places. In this case, we are going to come here, reduce the decimal places and put it like this. So this is okay, this is what we have. Now after we have done this, what else? The next thing we are going to do is to calculate our revenue and cost of sales. Now cost of sales, if you have gotten all this right, then it becomes easier for you to get your revenue and cost of sale. The only thing you need to do right here is to say equal to what is your pricing, the pricing multiplied by the volume of delivery. Simple. The pricing multiplied by volume of delivery, we have this. You can just drag this and take it forward. Now in this case, I can drag this and take it down without putting the reference. You know why? Because the same number of items we have here, that's the same number of items we have here, and it's taking reference from them directly. So you can check and confirm. You can see how it's taking the reference, right? So when you do that, you can just sum it up and get your total revenue for each of the period, right? So when you do that, we have this as our total revenue, right? So the next thing again is our cost. Of course, our cost, this is where we're going to do a little bit change, because the number of item we have on the side of the cost of sales is not the same number of item we have where it's not the same number of items we have on the volume. You have to make some changes, right? When you look at it, you come back, you come to your cost of sales. Now you go to what? You now go to your cost. Now this is your cost. Then you multiply your cost by the quantity of delivery. Yes, you just go there. You have this. Now you can drag this downward. We can drag this downward, right? We can drag this downward. Now this is where we are going to look at some changes. Now if you look at the driver's wages goes hand in hand with the quantity of delivery made. Driver's wages go hand in hand with the quantity of deliveries made. So how do we determine driver's wages? And we are going to determine driver's wages by, let's say, yes, driver's wages. Where do we apply it? It's going to be on the quantity, right? On the quantity, that's the total quantity for this. So it's going to be this. Okay, I'm coming. Summation of these two, because these two are the total quantity of delivery, right? These are the total quantity of delivery made. We close the bracket, and this is what we have, right? These two are the total quantity of delivery made, and we have this. So when you do that, we have just drag it forward. But first of all, let's calculate our packaging. So you do something like this. We have this, but in this case, I'm going to remove this again. I'm going to remove this. Now the packaging and handling is going to take effect from where? From here. Now we have this multiplied by the packaging and handling, that's the value added services, multiply by this, and you enter. So we have this value, sum it up, and you get this, right? When you do that, you can just go ahead and fill this in. Now you may be wondering why did I sum the revenue side for the drivers, sorry, the drivers wages. Now remember that these free services and free deliveries fee and the last mile delivery are all carried on by the drivers. So I have to sum these two quantity together, right? Sum these two quantity together and multiply it by what? Multiply it by the cost for each, for the cost paid to, for the cost of delivery uh, for the cost paid to the drivers, which is this 200, to arrive at what, to arrive at the value we have here. So you can see this is now how to determine our revenue. We are able to determine our revenue, and we are also able to determine our cost of sale, of course taking into consideration the present and the future economic conditions, which is what we have here. So these are our economic conditions, both present and what we anticipate will happen in the future. So that is what we have there. You can see we have taken care of it here. So this is the end of this particular section of the class. When we come back in the next section, we are going to see how to calculate our what, our selling, general and admin expenses. We're going to see how to integrate both our economic conditions to it and how to get those values. And if you have not subscribed to this channel and you're already getting value on this channel, please like and subscribe, because this channel is impacting a lot. We are bringing a lot into your table. We have not even started. We have a lot on our table that we want to dash out or dish out to this on this channel. And the only way you can benefit from this free knowledge we are offering is by subscribing. Comment if you need this file, I will get the file across to you, right? Comment if you need this file, I'll get the file across to you. I have told you the reason why I don't share my files again, but if you need the file, just use the comment section, drop a comment, say you need the file, I'll respond to you ASAP, right? I'll tell you how to go about getting the file. And that is it on this section of the video. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe, like and share. See you in the next class.